Today on the Relationship Revival Show, I'm joined by Tamara Pflug. Meet your Swiss fun and confidence coach, Tamara. This little nagging voice you might have in your head can be quite annoying. And when you get coached by Tamara, you'll have this little voice under control so that you can finally accept and love yourself like you never did before. You're listening to the Relationship Revival Podcast with John DeBach, also known as Mr. Spirituality. That's me. I'm your host, giving you insights and guidance from over 10 years in the field of this amazing journey we call romance. On this show, I go over everything you need to know about how to get into a relationship, how to get the most out of a relationship, and sometimes even how to gracefully end a relationship without pulling your hair out and going crazy. And occasionally, I'm even joined by new and old friends who are also relationship experts to bring you guidance and wisdom with new perspectives. Thanks for stopping by. Tamara Pflug, thank you so much for being on the program. I'm excited to talk to you. You're my first confidence coach on the program. How you doing today, first of all?
Thank you so much, John, for having me. I'm super excited. I feel great. Thank you so much. And I hope you too.
Yeah. I know it's a good day. We're starting a little late. I had clients that kind of ran over, so I apologize. So it was funny. People don't know, but her mic didn't work and then my mic didn't work. And so I'm like, but it's, I'm glad we got it all sorted out and that we're here.
Yeah. And I have to say that also he faked that it was not working. It was perfectly working, but he was just showing his face like it's working, but it was not. No, I'm kidding. Of course, you are a great host so far.
Okay. So tell me how you got into the idea of being a confidence coach in the first place.
Yeah, so I used to be a teacher here in Switzerland, and then I learned life coaching, and I started to be very interested in like personal development, self-improvement, and I was coaching many people on many different topics, and I realized that deep down when it comes to relationship, but also losing weight, and many things like productivity, time management, I realized that deep down it came down to like lots of insecurity, self-doubt, and like really, it is lack of like confidence and self-worth. You know, most of the people want to feel loved and feel worthy. And I really got really interested in confidence. So this is how I became a confidence coach. And what is funny is that I added just for fun last summer the tagline as a fun coach. And then people start reaching out that they want more fun into their life, because I was saying like, I'm not sure, I'm kind of fun, but I will make coaching fun for sure. Yeah. But also, like, you can have much more fun and have uncomplicated life. And it resonated with people. So the confidence and the fun, this is how I got here. And then I decided to just make everything fun as much as possible. It's not always the case, but very often.
I think it's a worthy goal to pursue for sure. I always talk about that when I'm dealing with couples. You know, what do you guys do for fun? And they, you know, if they have kids and they've been at it for 15 years, they kind of look at each other for a long beat and go, what do we do for fun? You know, and you lose track of it. You lose track of it.
Yeah. And I think people think, you know, that fun is reserved for Saturday night or for nights out. But I really, truly believe that we can find much more fun, and not even fun, just joy in everything we do. And this goes also when you said with relationship for sure. But we have to ask ourselves the question, what is fun for us and how can we have more fun, I think.
Yeah.
And joy.
I you know, in the moments where my wife and I are kind of in a goofy mood where she'll say something like, "Oh, you're going to leave me," you know, like just as a joke, I'll always turn to her and go, "Who am I going to be such an idiot with?" I mean, you're the only person I feel comfortable doing weird voices and doing stupid things. I mean, that's we go on vacations and stuff, but the fun is on a Saturday afternoon where I'll pull a prank on her or say something stupid and she'll laugh at how dumb I am. And that's what makes the relationship feel like magic. So I'm all for it.
She's a good public. Looks like she's a good public for your jokes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about
that. You
just
got to find your good public.
I don't know. She's actually, you know, it's funny when we first got engaged, and then we'll stop talking about me, I promise. But when we first got engaged, we went to see a show with a comedian, one of my favorites, Jackie Mason, and she wasn't laughing at all. And I thought I was in trouble. But then I think I was like, how's this going to work? She doesn't laugh If this guy who's a legend in my mind can't make her laugh, I'm toast. But then I stubbed my toe on the car on the way back, and she laughed at me, and I went, I got it. All right, I just have to inflict some physical pain once in a while, and I'll be fine.
So it sounds like way cheaper also than taking her out. I'm kidding.
Depends on how bad the medical bills are, but yeah, it's in America it gets expensive.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say I'm not going to joke about this. Yeah.
So tell me about, I think that's a good point. So that's in a relationship, but prior to a relationship, let's say someone has low confidence. How do you see it affecting the way they can find a partner?
So I think that sometimes we want other people to say something or to do something, so then we are telling ourselves something, like we make it mean something about us. So we would feel confident if somebody is telling us like, you're amazing, or like, basically what I'm trying to say here is that we want other people really to do something or to say something so we can feel a certain way. But often, like not often, always there is a sentence in the middle, like people always say something, but then it's not what they say that makes us feel a certain way, but it's our own interpretation of it. So for example, if somebody's saying like, you're everything to me, like this is where it makes the most sense, is that we all have somebody who said that to us, and we did not make it mean something amazing, because we did not want to be with that person. So what I want to show by this is that it's never what people are saying or doing that makes us feel a certain way, but it's what we are thinking. And confidence is a feeling that we can feel by choosing different thoughts. Like insecurity or self-doubt, they are all coming, every feeling. And this is backed up by cognitive behavioral therapy, backed up by science. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry. So I'm mixing it up with the Swiss French. And it really says basically that all of our results in our life, like everything in our life, including our relationship, it all starts with what we are thinking. So we have a thought and then we have a feeling. So every thought, even like insecurity and self-doubt, it always comes from a thought. So nobody, this is the bad news for today, the first one, but then there is the good news. The bad news is that nobody can actually fix us, like make us feel confident. But the good thing is that actually we can do it from within, which is what coaching, I think it's the same you're doing. It's really all about actually building that confidence from within. And then people don't have to do anything. People can just be themselves. And since you're also the relationship coach, you know that actually if people can be like who they are and just have fun together, it just makes it so much easier. Because if we depend on somebody else to feel a certain way, it's so much work. It's like, I don't know how to feel confident. I don't know how to create that emotion for me. So you do it, but it's our job, I think, to generate this emotion. So yeah, just to say that actually people that are not in a relationship now or want, or even are in a relationship, they don't need actually the other person to do anything or to say anything to feel confident. And it's just so much better. We don't need the mailman, the mail woman. We can just do it ourselves. We don't need a third party here.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
It does. It does. That there's a thought that interrupts what your desired goal is for that relationship. I think one of the challenging things for people is learning, that you can control those thoughts and that you can pick which thoughts to have in your mind. But it's hard for people, especially if they have anxiety, which, a lack of confidence for sure very often has social anxiety attached to it or other forms of anxiety. So what kind of techniques, what do you do with people to help them learn to take control of those thoughts?
Yes. So actually, what is interesting that you said here, we have 60,000 thoughts per day, like you, me, everybody that is listening. And most of the time, we are not even conscious of them. We believe that we are just reporting the news. For example, I hear sometimes clients coming to me, I'm an insecure person. But this is a thought, like why some people think that they are confident and some people insecure. It's really like a thought that, again, our brain is so efficient that it will, every thought that we've been thinking, it will just put it on kind of automatic when you drive a car, just because it's efficient. You cannot recreate the wheel every single day. So the very, very first step is always to just acknowledge, like to see what we're thinking, just to observe what we're thinking, to look at it from a place of compassion and curiosity, because often it's like a dark room. You turn on the light, you see what you're thinking, and you're like, what? This is why I have this life? Like, why I'm in a relationship? I always tell my clients, like, you're in a relationship or not because of what you're thinking. But what is amazing here is that if you want something else, we have to look at what you're thinking. And so the very first step to answer your question is just to simply see, like, have a look at what you're thinking, like basically we call it a thought download, and it's writing down all your thoughts. And we see that objectively, as a point of view, as a coach from you and me, it's really stories that you're telling yourself and you keep on telling yourself. And the brain also, this is a very famous cognitive bias, to say it like this, that the brain, what you think, your brain, again, is very efficient. It's just the brain from the caveman, so it will look for proof for everything we think. It's going to look for proof. So if you think, I'm so insecure, of course, your brain is going to offer you even more proof of how insecure you think you are.
Right.
So the very first step is just to observe what we're thinking and not beat yourself up. Like, we have to be somewhere. This is where we are today, and take it from there. But it doesn't have to be also perfect, like to fix it. Nobody has to get fixed. It just, as we said before, our thoughts create a reality. So if we want a different reality, we've got to look at what we're thinking.
I think you said two really fascinating things in there that both deserve their own individual analysis. So the first thing you said is the ability to observe the thought, right?
It's hard.
But I think it's a great tool, right? So if you're thinking something, instead of just repeating it in your head again and again, oh, I'm insecure, right? To sit there and think, well, why do I think I'm insecure, right? That's a thought in my head. Let me analyze that. Let me say, okay, well, is it because of this, because of this? Well, is that really true? Is that something I can change, or is that something I'm born with? I think the ability to take a step back and say, okay, I have this thought. I can't control it, but at least let me look at it. At least let me say, okay, why is that thought there? That's big. That's a big step in a huge step in the right direction. And then the second thing you said, which I loved, is the idea that your brain is going to look for the clues to support whatever you believe. And I have the same thing that I phrase it differently, but the idea that your brain is picking the path of least resistance, right? It's like these neurons have this inertia to them. And so whatever thought you give it, it's going to look for it, whether I'm in a good relationship, I'm in a bad relationship. And so if you think I'm in a good relationship, your brain's going to look for proof. And in a relationship, it's going to look for, okay, well, what makes that partner great, right? But if you break the pattern by analyzing the thought, you can shift gears and train your brain, hey, look for the other evidence. Look for the evidence that I'm not insecure. Look for the evidence that I am confident. And that can start coming into your head, even on a subconscious level.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so much. Oh, sorry, you are saying we could talk I think, a lot of hours like this. But it's true that also, I hear a lot of people also saying dating is so hard. Like, no wonder that we find, first, it's a thought, because I know people that are thriving dating. I know people very unhappy in marriage. We know always everyone. So we see how much it's never the circumstance, but always the thought that we have in between, how we interpret the situation, which explains, again, like how many people feel different things in the same situation. We hear people wanting divorce, people wanting to get married, when they are, by definition, supposed to be in a relationship. So it's interesting. But I think the best idea with what you said about, like, the brain's job to just, like, prove right what we're thinking is, when you wake up and you say, this day is going to be bad, or like, this is such a bad day. And the day continues to kind of be bad because we find so many proof that it's bad. So yeah, I really agree. This is
and that's the way the brain is supposed to work, right? If you're drowning, your brain is looking for evidence. Well, I can't breathe. We have wetness. And so now the brain hops into action. Swim up, right? But when it's a subjective thing like confidence, you have to feed it the information to give it to and I think that most people, those two thoughts alone, those two concepts that you kind of shared, if people take them and internalize them, can change their entire life.
Yes, because I think, for example, what is very interesting is that people very often want to change the action, for example, when they go on dates, or when they say, men are emotionally unavailable. This is just because randomly I'm hearing this. It's just people often think that they need to change to go meet more people and everything. But I think this is what we talked also, you mentioned before, that our thoughts, like, we have thoughts, but we are not our thoughts, so we can always change them. But what I want to say by this is that this is why I think it's kind of magical coaching, when you can look at what you're thinking, is that even if you're not aware until you are, when you go on dates and you think dating is so hard, I guess, like, this is what we do a lot in coaching, is then we wonder how we're feeling when we're thinking that thought, and then how we are acting out. Because I can assure you that somebody that thinks dating is so hard, without doing it on purpose, for sure, but on dates, they are not the funnier and the more themselves, they are just not control, but we are acting out. Really, I truly believe this, which is really, I think, more empowering, because then again, if we want to show up on dates differently to maybe get an amazing relationship, it really starts in what we are thinking, which again, nothing wrong realizing that we've been thinking something that is not, that has not been serving us until now, but just what you said and you like repeated before is really to observe what we're thinking. And no wonder I've been thinking this, it makes sense. But now I actually, you said it's hard to choose thoughts, but I do believe that we spend so much time shopping and choosing our clothes. I do believe that we need to spend much more time choosing our thoughts, because I believe that the quality of our life depends on the quality of our thoughts, what we're thinking. So we have much more power there than what we think.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate for people learning to do that. I think, I push people very often to practice meditation, which is learning to push out gently the thoughts that are not helpful, or all thoughts for a little bit, and showing you. I think the one thing I've learned from meditating in my own life is you can choose not to have thoughts. And so if you could choose not to have thoughts, then you can choose which thoughts you want to have and when. So learning to control your mind. Tell me a little bit more about how you actually work with people. So what does it look like to work?
Yes, actually, I'm going to change the rules a bit, but I just wanted to add one last thing from before that you said, that I agree with you. And at the same time, I will add that sometimes there is a difference between thinking something and believing it.
Yes.
And I like when meditation, I so agree with you. And at the same time, I have to say, maybe this may resonate with people that found myself still having thoughts and be like, you're doing it wrong. So I've decided to look at thoughts. No, and I'm not thinking about it, but I'm thinking to reassure some people that sometimes thoughts are just like clouds that are passing in the sky. And I just see them passing, because sometimes I'm like trying to push them.
Right. Gently, just gently. Yeah. Yeah, I tell people,
so I think
right. Yeah, that's actually a very common struggle that beginners have with meditation. It's like, I keep thinking other things. Okay. Acknowledge it. It's not going anywhere. And then gently, like, I like your analogy, clouds passing in the sky, because it's the same thing. I'm like, just gently push it to the side. It can come back, gently push it to the side again. I mean, you fight with it. You're giving it too much energy.
It's true. And entertaining those thoughts, I always have thoughts. As much as I'm confidence coach, sometimes I'm like, how are you feeling insecure like this? Which I know it's my thought, but I'm like, you're the confidence coach. And then I'm like, this is just a thought. Right. And sometimes I'm entertaining it. Like, I'm like, you're right, brain, so I totally agree with you. Like, we still have a human brain as much as we're helping people as coaches.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Look, so yeah, I'm a marriage therapist, and I sometimes make mistakes, and I'm like, what am I doing? And the funniest thing, what the best thought I've had for myself is, if I find myself arguing with my wife, I always ask myself, what would I tell a client? Right. And that's the thought that tricks me, going, oh, well, yeah, if it was my client, I would tell him, do this. And it totally changes the path. So tell me about how you work with people.
I could have answered to this, but I'm going to now be okay with following through. So how I work with people is usually, so they come to me, we talk a bit how, I love the idea of a scale 1 to 10. How do they feel like confident today? And what would a 10 look like? Or even a 15? Sometimes I like to talk about, this is a 10. Imagine what would be a 15, feeling confident in your life. And actually then we designed, I call it a customized, fun and confident adventure to look at actually. I believe that coaching is, we work the big things by working on the everyday things. So we take specific situations of our day-to-day life that we feel very insecure, self-doubt, and then we see how much, I'm very objective at this. Like, I think friends are amazing, but they are very supporting. So they're kind of buying into our stories. And the difference with the coach is that we are pointing at, I see that you've been thinking this and it's not have been serving you until today. So we look at, what you're thinking. That, again, as I mentioned before, is creating a feeling. And then from this feeling, we take action and then we get a result. So we look at specific situation and then we talk without ever beating ourselves up, like as a confidence coach. I really, and I'm using it for myself a lot, that I always think we can use things to, like opportunities to love ourselves more, not to beat ourselves up. So we look at specific situations, we go through them, and actually we get much more control over our emotions without trying to fix anything. Sometimes it's also okay to just, insecurity, self-doubt. I also sometimes like to talk about looking at the silver lining, that there's something good also sometimes about feeling insecure and self-doubt, but just to have it under control and make sure that it creates a result it is a bit advanced now. I got into it, but yeah, basically we take specific situation because I like to things to be very practical that people can live with having something that they can do in
Like
their
physical
life.
actions. Like, give me an example. Yeah,
Exactly.
give me an example of something that you might give to someone to kind of build confidence that they could take with them after a coaching session.
Yeah, so I think it's really proper to specific situation, like as I
Yeah.
mentioned. So I think the thing that sounds practical, but at the same time is not so much. It's really like actually it goes with you being spiritual, like Mr. Spiritual, ET. It goes with like more listening to your intuition. So often people come to me asking how they can like stop people pleasing. Stop trying to please others and saying actually yes to others when they want to say no. So we work on this and we work a lot on like listening to their intuition. And so as I mentioned before, our thoughts create our feelings that drive our action. But right before taking action or reacting to something, we can just take a step back and see also what do we really want to do in the situation. And this goes a bit, not sure it's spirituality, but it's a bit like listening to your intuition. What do you really want to do in this situation next time that you're fixing this situation? So yeah, we take situation, as I said before, saying no to something, and the person is imagining next time how they would want to deal in that situation. We think about our future self and make decision ahead of time, because in the moment, I think the brain always kind of rely more on emotion than on logic. So it will want to please others because when we please others, we are assuring that they're gonna love us back. So yeah, it's really always based on specific situation, and then it's a bit case by case because it all depends again of what you're thinking. So if somebody wants to feel like at peace in the moment, we need to see what thought is going to drive that feeling.
Yeah.
So it's very particular.
Of course. Yeah. Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. That for sure. What's your, do you find anything particularly repetitive for people that they struggle with?
I think, yes, I would say, are you asking for a specific case? Because I would say in general.
No, for people in general. So like most clients or a lot of clients that you have usually have this that comes up. People pleasing, I'm sure, is one, for example. Is there other stuff that comes up a lot?
Yes, I would say, but the most is always, very related to relationship that we have with ourselves. So no matter what, like situation from the past, you probably know about it, but it's more really using the past against ourselves. Like I always like the idea, the tool. This is what I'm sharing sometimes with my clients also, that if you would wake up with amnesia, like not knowing at all, not being able to look at your past for proof as how you're on dates, how you are in a relationship, like you basically start from a complete clean slate. Like it's just imagine how different you will show up during your day, like not having all this past, that definition of yourself, like identifying yourself as somebody who's not good at dates, somebody who got dumped, like all of this, it's so different. So I would say really like the situation that I see the most is people really beating themselves up, like thinking I've always been like this. So like I'm not too confident, which is a thought again. Like I'm not saying you have to feel confident in like 100% the next day you wake up, but it's always stories we're telling ourselves. So
I think that's brilliant. I'm going to steal that. I love that. The idea.
Which one?
The amnesia. I mean, I think that because that's a really good framework for people. It's you're bringing in this intention to relationships or situations, but imagine if you came in and you didn't have this idea that you were this way growing up, and you didn't have this, like if you woke up like Jason Bourne in the movie and you didn't know where you were and you just had to take the information and process it, that's the way they're looking at you. That's the way you should look at yourself. Every moment is a new opportunity to create something from scratch.
No, I also think, you mentioned before about like complication, things being complicated. And I also think that the idea of amnesia is like going with the idea of making it so much more complicated. Like when we go on dates, when we build relationship, if just imagine a second, we will not have any standards, ideas, like things the way it's supposed to go. And deep down, what you really, I think this, you probably work a lot on this with your clients, but to really think about deep down what you really want out of this relationship. It's a strong connection, I guess, with somebody, and actually the rest doesn't matter. You just have to be present in the moment, which is not easy to do, but I mean, with people like you that can help them, I'm sure it's possible. And then to, again, not, your brain will offer you thoughts, but don't forget, this person did not call you back, but it's a thought. It's just you rely to your past if you're aware, and it's what you said before, what we talked about. Really, step number one, and almost the most important one, is just to observe. It's a thought, and I'm literally doing this a lot with my business also. I'm pushing thoughts away. I'm just making it mean this, but it's just a thought. It's not a fact. Not everybody will agree on this. Like, I can't find love. So many people find love. I think we make it so much more complicated. And again, if we will not have all of the stories we tell ourselves, which it's normal. The brain wants to keep you safe. It's like, okay, you've been thinking this, you're still safe, you're still alive. The lion is not going to eat you, so think this again. But when you're conscious of it, you can make the choice to let it go as you define, as you.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it goes
Getting
back to
excited.
being able to choose the thoughts. I mean, everything kind of goes back
It's
to
not
it,
easy.
for sure.
But I really believe that it's much easier. Like, really, like, I think also, I mentioned before that the quality of our thoughts, or the quality of our life depends on the quality of our thoughts, but I believe that the quality of our life depends also on the quality of the questions we ask ourselves. So when we, like we said before, the brain will come up with answers. So if we ask ourselves, what's wrong with me? Why can I not find somebody to love or that loves me back? Your brain is so smart, it's going to tell you because of this, because of this, because of that. But if you change the question, why not me? Like,
right.
We all know somebody that we're like, they're in a relationship, it doesn't make sense, and they did not do crazy things. They just changed their thoughts.
Yeah,
it's crazy. You know,
it's funny. And I've even had it where clients where they don't ask themselves the right question that are really crucial for their growth. Oftentimes, those will get asked in a dream. That's how much your brain wants to ask those questions. I've had couples who are fighting for a week, and the husband's apologizing, and then when I see them the next week in a session, he's angry, and I'm like, what happened? And he's like, I had a dream and I realized she's being unreasonable, and I was just too caught up in the act of apology. And I'm like, wow. And it's amazing what happens. I mean, sometimes the brain is just like, if you're not going to let me do it while you're awake, I'm going to take over in your dream. So
this is amazing. No, it's true. And I think the question that it's amazing, like a question also is like, how can I make finding love easy? Like, how can I make finding love fun? How can I have fun on the journey? It doesn't have to be the way we describe it to be. So it's exactly what you said. The dream will make you think.
What's your vision for your future? What's next for you? This sounds like a really great path that you're on. I mean, do you have plans to you mentioned something very briefly in passing, you're going to change the world a bit. So before I let you go, I don't want to lose track of that.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being as excited as I love finding people that also love his mission and his work to help people. So actually what I'm currently doing is that I'm learning sign language, American one, because you're not going to believe that even Spanish has a different one for South American Spanish. It's going to be very difficult. So I'm learning American Sign Language because I want to be able to hear. Such a good lapsus. I really want to help people that can hear, but also people that are hard hearing or that don't hear, that are deaf, to also help them have much more fun and confidence. So I think that they can access things with all the subtitles. I think they made it amazing today, the captions and all this, but I think the coaching really with sign language, it's going to be amazing. So I really have in the future the idea of having coaching program for people that wants to speak and also people that want to speak with hands.
What a cool undertaking. Yeah. I have one of my best friends who's almost like a brother to me, learned sign language before he went to college, and he got obsessed with it, and he got pretty fluent, and he said he went to deaf conventions and he went to different things, and oftentimes he was the only person in a room where he could hear. And he said he would be talking to people for 3 days without uttering a word. He said it changes the dynamic. It's a different world. And he's like,
it's interesting.
Yeah, he said it was one of the most impactful things in his life. And I never had the courage, to really try it, because I struggle with learning the 3 languages that I know. I mean, I know English, Hebrew, and Spanish, but my English is, I think, okay. My Spanish and Hebrew are so bad that the idea of taking on another one, I was like, where am I going to fit this in? But he's just, he took it on, and he still knows it. And it's a whole community that thinks about the world in a slightly different way. If you're going to make a sweeping generalization, but I think, I think it's so cool that you're doing that.
Yeah, and what is funny is that many people ask me why, and actually I have to say the truth, which I'm trying to push people to do this also with their life, just because I wanted it. I don't have any reason. I just said, sometimes people say, but why do you want to do this,
Yeah.
with your life? Or like, why do you want to get divorced? What do you don't want
I think
to
that's a great answer. That's a people,
You know what I mean? No,
sometimes
just because you
people.
want to.
So I'm an ordained rabbi and minister, and I don't practice much, but I have it in my past. And some people ask me when they find that out, why do you believe in God? That's my answer. I say because I want to. And that's the only honest answer I can give you. I mean, all these proofs of whether he exists or she doesn't. At the end of the day, I want to. And then that's enough.
Yeah, and I think that honestly, then this builds also our confidence and our kind of integrity just by also living like aligned with what you really want to do. And it doesn't. Again, it's not much more complicated. Often we don't do or we don't like make these choices because we're afraid of what people may think. Everybody's dying, nobody's sick, and everybody. I like to say always to people. This was a bit dark, but I'm taking it back. But which is true. But I think that the other one is really like I like to say all the time that nobody think about you as much as you do, because people often we don't do think. The people pleasing one is always people will think this about me, but deep down, nobody think about us as much as we do.
Most people don't figure that out till they're in their 60s. 50s, 60s, people realize like all this time where I was worrying what someone would think. And then I realized finally, no one ever thinks about me at all. So it doesn't matter. It's liberating. There's a little bit of sadness in it. I hear you, but it's liberating. It's like nobody cares. Do what you want. Yeah. Do what makes you happy.
No, and I think that then you also deep down, when I'm coaching people, they also want to be loved for who they are, like to be worthy. First, we are always worthy just right here, right now. We don't need to achieve anything. I truly believe in this and trying to like ask questions for my clients to realize it also for themselves, but also like people to love you. Like I think this is when it comes, to say no or yes to what you really want to do. You want people to love the real version of yourself, which is not easy. Again, you need to cultivate it, like, and know who you are, like discover it. But it's just important just to see that when we please others or things like this, actually deep down, they don't really love this version because it's not who we really are, So, but it's not easy. It's the work of our life. So we are into this, you and me.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a journey that everybody goes on for their whole life. Nobody, even if you're a master at it in your 20s or 30s or 50s, you can lose it very quickly and have to rediscover it.
Yeah. No, and there's no perfect way. We just have to be somewhere. This is where we are, and it all. I believe it happens for a reason like this. And take the best, leave the rest. There's no reason to beat again ourselves up with the past. If I could go back in past, I'm telling you, I would be a billionaire. I would not be talking to you. No, I'm kidding. But you know what I mean. So it's just not useful to think about the past to beat ourselves up.
For sure.
I really believe.
So the best way for someone to reach out if they're hearing what if they want to work with you and work on their confidence, you have a lot of wonderful resources. So I'll post them in the show notes. But I think your website is probably a good place to start, right?
Yeah,
which is personal-development-zone.com. Personal-development-zone.com. You also have your own podcast, and you're on TikTok and Pinterest, and I'll leave all those links for everybody below. Is there anything else you want to kind of point people to?
No, thank you so much, really. And I just want to really recommend to everybody to not take it also, when we talk about everything we talked about today, it's like, oh, I know I can do so much, like so many things differently in my life. Just take the best, leave the rest. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. Don't beat yourself up and you'll be fine.
That's great. Great parting words to go on. Thank you so much for being here. If you're interested in learning how to get the absolute most out of your romantic relationships, then you're in luck, because I have put together a free workshop or masterclass, if you will, about 3 secrets that people in happy relationships have discovered. You can view the workshop at mrspirituality.com/3 secrets. Again, it's completely free. Just go there and watch it. It'll help you on your journey, give you some wisdom, some things to think about. The website again is mrspirituality.com/3 secrets. That's mrspirituality.com/3, the word secrets. It's all yours. Enjoy.